We are definitely going to record it.
Too bad.
So my brother-in-law is this guy.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'm done.
Besides Lisa, I'm going to ask everyone to mute themselves if you don't mind. We're just waiting for a few more people to jump in and join us, and then we'll get started with our very special guest, Mr. Rustan Tongg. Hey guys, while you're waiting, I hope everyone saw, I put in the chat a download for the student manual, which is a PDF. Make sure that you have that in front of you or you have access to it. Rustan will make reference to that often.
Chad, I think you need to add it again. It's not there if you joined it just now.
You got it. Let me do that real quick. Oh, it's weird. It doesn't even give me that option anymore. I don't know what happened.
You can email it to me and I'll add it.
Okay. Rustan Tongg, are you around by chance? Okay, Rustan, you let me know when you're ready to go.
Can you hear me now, sir?
We can hear you now. I can't see you though.
Yeah. Can't see me.
Wait.
Look on the screen. I'm probably on one of the other screens.
I think that you are speaking from your one that your screen is off.
Got it.
Video's off.
So did you want to just can you make one of the screen that's there? Can you make that as
I can. I'll pin it. Let me do that.
Yeah.
Can everyone see? No idea. Can everyone see Rustan's lovely face?
Yes.
Did you pin
Perfect.
it?
I did.
Oh yeah, now we can do the sprinkler, bro.
Oh no, see what we did here?
Does everyone know that Chad was well, anyways, we won't go there.
Yeah, this is not the class for that.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It is absolutely a privilege and an honor to have everyone take the time out of your very busy day to have this series, to join us in this series, which is Win with Sellers. And for the very first one, this is going to be going on every Thursday from 1 p.m. to approximately 2, maybe a few minutes after that, if need be. And our very first guest is none other than Mr. Rustan Tongg. Welcome, Rustan. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you, Chad, for having me, and thank you everyone for being here. We have some exciting material to be able to cover and go over, and so I just want to say thank you for that.
Absolutely. And so let me, before we get started and dive into the content, some people, probably very few, don't know who Rustan is. Most everyone knows who Rustan is. But for those who don't, and for those who want to get reacquainted with Rustan, tell me a little bit about yourself and then your business. How long have you been in real estate, Russ?
A couple decades. Yeah, I don't look like it because of the Asian youthfulness, but we so been in business for about 20 years. Have started with a particular company, and then on our second year we'd opened up a real estate company, and so year to date 20 years we've been in the business. We had the fortunate opportunity of joining the Keller Williams family. Oh gosh, it's about 7, 8 years ago now. And it's just been an absolute tremendous blessing. We've typically, if without the systems and tools, we were hitting a ceiling of about 40 transactions. We joined Keller Williams, and literally the next year we doubled production to 78, then 81, 101, 142, 148. We had a retraction of 78. And this year we've already done, pending and closed, we have 105 transactions so far for this year.
So I just want to make sure that I understand too, because oftentimes I want people to understand it's not as though coming to Keller Williams will make you successful, because you were already successful when you came here. But one of the things that Jeff Cohn, a recent transfer over from Berkshire Hathaway to Keller Williams, said is when he made that decision, he was trying to figure out which system and model, which company would allow him to achieve. He was already successful, and he said, I know that wherever I go, I want to be successful, but I want the systems and tools that'll help me get to my goal the fastest and most efficiently, and what made most sense. And that sounds like you had some exponential growth when you came over here, when you really embraced that model.
Correct. And you're absolutely 100%, Chad. And that's some of the material that we're going to be getting to is going to be the mindset behind it. It's going to be some of the models, or just a portion of the model rather, that we'll be covering as far as win with sellers. And yeah, you're 100%. And someone has to want it. If we're comfortable selling X amount and that's where your heart's at, that's totally fine. The company, well, in our case, it's here to support. It's here to help achieve whatever level of growth that someone's wanting to achieve. Ultimately, we're here to support you, Jeff. So if it's a solo agent, if you did want to have some admin to help you and start a little bit of a mini team, if you want to go into a full-blown team, that's fine. And whatever level of growth your heart wants to take you to, we're here to support you with that. And that's been a tremendous part of a company.
Awesome. Again, thank you so much for always coming from contribution and pouring in, and we can start jumping into some of this stuff. And I just want everyone on the call, because I know that I can see some of the names, and some are new agents that have never done a transaction before. There's some mega agents in here. There's some very experienced agents in here. For me personally, and I would love your 2 cents on this, Russ, is I always look at things. I think you and I actually have the same amount of time in the business in 20 years apiece. And I always look at it as you can take a nugget away from anything. I mean, when I take a class, no matter what some would consider simple or how complex a class would be, I really grab my tools and I feel like I'm going mining, and I just want to get a nugget or two. And if I can get a barrel or a giant nugget, then that's great. But you can always walk away with something. I feel like if you're open-minded, you're growth-minded, there's a lot of improvement and a lot of growth potential there. Would you agree with that?
Oh no, 100%, Chad. And part of that mindset that we're in, and what most people may want to adopt, it's called a vertical growth mindset. And it's a constant growing and a constant improving of ourselves. I mean, you can literally, if we're humble enough to be observant enough to see what's going on around us, you can learn from a 2-year-old child just walking across the living room floor. It may be a lesson, something as simple as, you know what, I just need to be a little bit more carefree. I mean, we can always learn it once we put ourselves in that mindset that we're constantly there to learn, to grow, to improve. And
one other thing I wanted to mention too, because I just want to brag on you just a little bit, is for those who don't know your production or growth, and what a privilege it is to have you on. You are part of a very select group that get to mastermind with Mr. Gary Keller himself. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're 100% correct. There's out of 100 and roughly 86,000 agents that are in the country. There's they say top 100, but it really is about 200 agents that are there. We do have the opportunity to be able to collaborate, to be able to share best practices, to be able to continue refining the models that exist. There's always going to be a base model, Chad, and then there's going to be creativity that typically we add on top of that. So it's very, very up-to-date information. Those that you're having levels of conversations with. I mean, there's some guys, they're doing like 2,000 units a year. I mean, that's just absolutely amazing. And so, and again, that's the potential of being in a place where, very open, very collaborative, the information that's shared. It's not like, don't look what I got. It really is everyone collectively holding arms and continuing to elevate each other and elevate, in turn, the business, because we in turn help the business grow as a whole too.
That's amazing that that you're part of that, you know, elite class. I know you don't like to use that term, but that elite group of people, that select group, privileged group of people, that hardworking group of people. But you get to pour some into us and take some of that collaborative ideas and share with everyone else. So guys who are joining the call, just know that, you know, it is an honor to have Rustan teach. So thank you again so much. And
thank you.
Why don't we get started and see if you can share your screen. I'm gonna see if I can unpin you. If that's possible.
So let me go that way. And did it start sharing?
I can see it. Can everyone else see it? And by the way, too, everyone, if you're on the call and joining us, just to kind of keep the chatter down, if you don't mind muting yourselves, if you have an aha, you have a question, I'm monitoring the chat. So I'll interrupt Rustan as politely as possible and ask your questions. But feel free to use that chat. Love to hear some ahas and some ideas that you guys are getting from this. And Russ, without further ado, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. Well, welcome everyone. We have an amazing class that we're about to get into. It's going to be called Win with Sellers. And if you haven't downloaded the materials, I know Chad has, or perhaps Lisa has placed it inside of the chat box. So please download in the chat box. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So we will be reviewing through those. We are going to use that as a reference as we go throughout the materials today. So let's, you know, this is actually a conversation. I know it may not feel like it, and it is. So at any point in time, if you wanted to raise your hand, if you wanted to, there's a little hand somewhere on there. I can't see it on my screen because mine's all filled up, but you can, on the chat box, you can raise your hand, you can type in your chats, or, you know, if you get someone's attention, what happens is that Chad will go ahead and get your questions answered and asked in the chat box. And if not, you know, as long as it's based, your question is based upon the material that we have in front of us or off of the conversation that we're having, just go ahead and ask away, because the more that we have a participation, it becomes a conversation, and we actually are in the point of where we're able to learn together. And just as much as, you know, we're here to pour into you, I'm also here to learn from you as well. So just keep that in mind as you go through the materials today. Super, super excited to be able to do that. So let's jump on in. I'm assuming everyone can see the screen that we have up there, the Win with Sellers. So if you have your handout, just click over to page 8. I just want to read something real quick for you. And this has to do with the mindset and models that win with sellers. So I'm just going to read this one point. It says, imagine yourself a year from now. You walk into your office Monday morning and you see a stack of leads that you're going to call. You call each one, connecting with them effortlessly, saying the right things and exploring how you can help. You're confident that you'll set appointments with many of them. After your calls, you have 5 appointments booked and a solid follow-up plan for the rest. In fact, you have already done your homework for each seller and know what pricing you'll recommend. All of your appointments go well and you sign all except one. You didn't feel it would be a great match, so you refer them to another agent. 4 clients in a week is a big win. That boosts your motivation. Your motivation is even higher as you attend 2 closings that afternoon. That feeling of motivation and success propels you every day. So here's some of the questions that we want to ask. And the main question is going to be, you know, why are you here? You know, what is it that you want to get out of this class? What is it that you're wanting to learn? And just go ahead and jot that down. We are going to have, so if you have a piece of paper next to you, if you have, I'm old school, if you want to type it somewhere, that's cool too. But typically there's going to be an aha, that's an idea, or like, you know what, I really like what he or she said, because we're going to be learning from each other today. There's going to be an aha, there may be books that we're going to be referencing. There may be questions like, oh, that's a good question, I'm going to write that down. So I want you to make sure that we're able to take notes in whatever form or fashion that you're comfortable doing that, okay? So I'm going to ask just a couple of questions, and just go ahead and jot the answers down. So the first question I had is what do you enjoy most about working with sellers? You know, we're in the class Win with Sellers. So if you want to go ahead and just answer and jot that down and think about that for a second, what do you enjoy most about working with sellers? We'll just take 20 to 30 seconds to just go ahead and write that answer down. What is it that you enjoy most about working with sellers? And keep in mind, the more that we put into the self-discovery process, the more that we put into answering the questions and in the dialogue, the more you're going to get out of it. Because this class really is about you today, okay? So what do you enjoy most about working with sellers? Okay, the next question is, what are some challenges, if any, of working with sellers? What are some of the challenges that you faced or that you see or have experienced of working with sellers? What does that look like? What are some of the challenges, if any, of working with sellers? Okay. And then the third question is, what is your business goal? What is your business goal for listing business this year? What is your business goal for listing business this year? So we all have goals. So what's your personal goal for your business goal for your listing business this year? And then,
And real quick before you continue, I just want to make sure I got a couple of comments. Can you guys see his shared screen? Is everyone seeing that? Can you see the slides where it says, "Why are you here?"
Yes.
Good. Okay.
you may need to pin that one up. You may need to pin. I don't know if you need to pin that one up or not, Chad. I don't know how it's positioned, but I don't care if they see me or not. The screen's going to be the main thing.
Yep. Yep. Perfect.
So however it works, it works. Thank you. So I'll go through the first three and I'll read the last one. So the first question was, what do you enjoy most about working with sellers? The next question is what are some challenges, if any, of working with sellers? So what do you like most? What's potentially challenging? The third question is what's your business goal for listings business this year? What does that look like? And then of course the last question is how will you know when you achieved your goal? So how are you going to know when you've achieved your goal? And I hope some of you don't put when I pass out. How will you know when you've achieved your goal? All right. So maybe let's have one or two volunteers if you could. Let's answer that first one. So what do you enjoy most about working with sellers? If anyone either wants to raise their hand and unmute themselves, or if you wanted to chat in the box, type in the box chat, Chad can go ahead and get those answers. Well, actually, why don't we do it that way? It'd probably be a little bit more conservative, and we don't have 50 people talking at one time. So if you could just maybe type, and this is if you're comfortable sharing, if you could type your response in to the first question. What do you enjoy most?
I'll read some for you. So Kavena put on here, helping sellers move on to the next chapter of their lives.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Catherine put on here, we control the market when we have listings and they lead to more business. Gabby said, I get to help my community help homeowners and buyers. Joe said, winning the seller over, proving you're the one, and selling with expertise. Yuning said, the training and meetings so far online, and it is safe for the pandemic, and the training is the best in the world. Thank you so much. Kurt said, I predict the market. And I'll add something to that as well, as I get the opportunity to put on my marketing hat, because it's kind of a different role that you take on, right, versus the buyer.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone that had typed in. I really appreciate that. Let's transition to the next one. So I heard the words predictable in that first question. I heard the words the opportunity to serve, and you know, I heard with Chad the opportunity to be able to put a different hat on, or a different aspect of the business hat on, to be able to market. So thank you for that. So let's transition to the second question. What are some challenges of working with sellers? If you want to go ahead and type those in, if any. So what are some challenges, if any, of working with sellers?
Kurt wrote overvaluing the property. Joe said navigating the energy match with the seller, getting buy-in on the list side and building trust. Gabby said negotiating price. They will be ecstatic about negotiating the buyer's agents, making everyone happy. Kavena put sellers may want more than the market will yield, which is definitely true. Catherine said when price reductions are necessary and some can be high maintenance and demanding and difficult listings. I think Catherine and I had one just like that we worked on together. Josh says get them to recognize they even need you. It's a great one. Jordan says emotional attachment to the house. That's a fantastic one as well.
Yeah, no, thank you. Absolutely, those are all great answers. So thank you for that. Okay, so let's move on to the next. What are some of the goals for your listing business this year? What are some of your goals? I want to hear some of those.
By the way, while they're writing that one down, Patrick also typed in something here too, which I thought was a great one. Is as far as a challenge is the seller might want a 4% listing or basically a discount, competing with a discount broker.
Definitely a challenge. And that's something that we overcome. We can always overcome, whether it's an objection or what have you. Those are always overcome with scripts. Someone's gone before you, someone's come behind you, going to come after you rather. That absolutely will go through that exact same thing. So what is your business goal for your listing business this year?
So some of them are coming in. Josh says 8 listings taken. Kavena says sell every listing in 30 days. Yu Ning said to exceed her cap. That's a great goal. Joe says to sell 10 listings, to have 10 listings sold by the end of the year. Kurt says to get his very first listing. Obviously, you got to start somewhere. That's a great goal. Joe reminds us that 2 of those 10 listings he wants being $1 million listings. Catherine says 5 more million in listings this year. Okela says, I want to get able to get at least another listing and a buyer from marketing the first listing, which is great. Audrey says 6 listings close and cap. Good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing that. All right, so let's do this. Let's transition in. And for those of you that don't know Gary Keller, he actually is the founder, one of the founders. It was Joe Williams and Gary Keller that actually found the company of Keller Williams. So Keller Williams is actually one of the co-founders and chairman. He still resides on the board of Keller Williams, and he absolutely is a machine. And literally a lot of the mindsets, a lot of the classes have actually stemmed from a lot of the classes that he actually taught back in the 80s. I mean, she's just very, very much of a forward thinking. And so this quote is from him. It says, words of wisdom, when you interview the very top people and ask them what their biggest challenge is, invariably they will tell you it's mindset. Keeping it strong, focused, and positive amid the many challenges they encounter every day on their way to the top and staying there. The vast majority say that this is their top issue, not leads, but mindset. So mindset is absolutely the top issue. Now, here's a quote that we have. We have a sales class called Bold, which is a phenomenal training class. And this is one of the quotes that was in that class. It says, and if you have a pen, I want you, if you could please write it down, or if you're typing notes, type this. It says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You're absolutely right. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're absolutely right. You know, a lot of times we want to be able to do more, be more, and have more output. And the challenge is that we sometimes can overlook the fact that and I'll call it a thing, the thing that's the variable is a better way to put it. The variable that's actually doing the output is yourself. So if your mindset is capped at a certain level and you're not able to break through, guess what? You probably are not ever going to break through because that mindset is what's keeping you capped. Whether
Can I offer two more?
Sure.
That's kind of tied to that and these are some of my favorite ones, which is Colette Ching adds this one. She says this a lot: is busyness does not equal business. That's one, because I talk to a lot of agents and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I don't have time to do this or do that," and they're kind of accidentally or inadvertently sidestepping their one thing. And when I break down what activities they're doing, that's a really good one to remember. Is busyness does not equate to business. That's number one. The second one is, you know, what the activities that you're doing, which is part of that mindset to drive you to the right activities, is the activities that you do today are going to determine whether you're going to get a commission check or a bill in 90 days. That's an important one as well. So
100%. Thank you. Yeah, it's the classic law of sowing and reaping. What you sow is what you reap. And our reap, typically the time frame for reaping in our real estate business is about 90 days. The reaping period for a tree farmer, if you plant trees, 30 years. So the time is a little bit longer. And yet in both cases, you can't expect to have trees if you just planted them yesterday because of the life cycle of how long it takes to actually get and reap that harvest. And you also can't expect to have business tomorrow if you didn't do anything 90 days ago. So we have to keep that law in mind, as the law of sowing and reaping. All right. Have you guys, thank you for that, Chad. Have you guys seen this book before? I know it's got a sticker on there, so don't mind me because I label all my stuff. It's got a lap sticker, but it's called the MREA. It's a Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So if you have your material, let's look on page 10, if you will. And I just want to read a little bit out of the MREA. It's going to be on page 35 if you want to take some notes. Because what I'm about to share with you is what literally enabled an individual, Gary Keller, to be, fast forward now 40 years later, to literally be in a position where he has the #1 real estate company in the entire world. And there was a principle that he had learned that I'm about to read to you right now. And I'd like it if you could just jot down at the very end. I'll tell you what the question is. I want to make sure you jot that down. And it's something that we always pass. It's called a filter. We always pass everything through. Okay, so on page 35, it says the cornerstone of success. So 2 events in my life forever changed. Of course, this is Gary. 2 events in my life forever changed my thinking on what I believe a person is capable of achieving through God-given talents alone. The first was when a Baylor professor chided a certain cavalier young student who thought he might have all the answers. That would be Gary, of course. He said, "Son, you're not the first person to want to have a successful career. You're not the first person to have dreams you want to fulfill. You're not the first person to want to be the very best you can be in life. You need to realize that people have lived before you. And you might be wise to slow down for just a second and figure out what they learned on their journey before you start your own." I listened attentively and thought I understood what he was saying, but I wouldn't really hear him for almost a decade later. The second event happened in 1987 when our young company was faced with a collapsed economy. Up to that point, we had been successful on certain levels, but there were now some big challenges that were holding us back. In the end, I found that I didn't have all the answers. In my opinion, our growth till then had been sustained through sheer hard work. And I know that a lot of us in our businesses, we push through and we grow through sheer hard work. And Gary says, then the market turned sour and we were faced with a new, very real ceiling of achievement. That was the year that he read Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins. So the book was Unlimited Power. And finally heard my professor. And again, this is a quote from the professor. People have lived before you. And in Robinson's book, he made the same point. People have lived before you. Robbins' book made that point in a very powerful way. And here's some of the passages. Passage 1. Long ago, I realized that success leaves clues, that people who produce outstanding results do specific things to create those results. So success leaves clues, and people who produce outstanding results do specific things to create those results. Passage, the next one was actions are the source of all results. Actions are the source of all results. So this process of discovering exactly and specifically what people do to produce specific results, it's called modeling. It's called modeling. That's what that process calls. And then to me, modeling is the pathway to excellence. The movers and shakers of the world are often professional modelers, people who have mastered the art of learning everything they can by following other people's experiences rather than their own. And the last passage it says is that to model excellence, you should be a detective and investigator, someone who asks lots of questions and tracks down all the clues to what produces excellence. Building from the successes of others is one of the fundamental aspects of most learning. So here's the aha. So this is Gary's aha that enabled him to create the largest real estate company in the world. And it's one question. And the question is this. Can you see that? It says, what's the model? What's the model? So if there's a new area in business, or if you've been doing business and you've hit some type of a ceiling of achievement, we always have to go back and ask that one simple question: what's the model? Am I out of model? Have I added my creativity to it and then said, you know what, let me just kind of stack things on and what we believe to be the additive to that? Like what is the model? And that's the question. If you have your ahas, your notes, please write that down. And every single time that you pass and you're about to get into something new, and I don't care, this applies to any business. We happen to be in real estate. This is one of those life nuggets that has literally enabled someone to create a company of 186,000 individuals, real estate agents across the country, as well as inclusive of the world. That's how large the company is right now. All right, so on the screen, we have this, which business has a more stable foundation? And typically what we do as real estate agents is we love the bright, shiny new things. And we always go out like, ooh, let's do this. Ooh, let's do that. Ooh, let's do this. And so we try to build our models based on creativity. And then we try and add on what we should be doing on top of that. And when you look at the screen on the left side, on that right side, that's what creates instability. And it's an unstable model, is when we try to build things based off of creativity and we stack everything on top of it. Not going to work. And so that triangle on the left is the actual model of finding out what the base model is, and then we can add our creativity on top of that. And that's what we're going to be doing as we go through the materials today, is we're going to find out what the foundational model is. And then of course, you're going to be able to add your own personal creativity on top of that. That's going to ensure the level of success that you want to have in your career. Typically, that's who you should be modeling after. If someone's done one transaction in their entire career, probably not a good model to follow. If someone's been 20, 30, 40, 50, 2,000, X, whatever it may be, they may be onto something. And there absolutely should be a model that they're applying to their business, which is producing those types of results. All right. So the words of wisdom from Gary on page 10 at the bottom, it says, the fastest route to success is to follow the model, the best practices of top agents. Okay. And so the course that we're about to go through, this actually represents proven models. So they are all you need to win with sellers. So I want us to agree today that that we're going to follow and stick to the models that we're going to go through, and then you can add your creativity later. So for now, we're going to table our creativity, and we're going to begin getting into the base model in terms of win with sellers. Chad, did you want to take a break now? Did you want to transition over, or did you want to keep things going?
No, I think we're good. I think keep it going. You're on a good flow and a good momentum.
Okay, cool. All right. So if you have your course material, if you could please go ahead and turn over to page 11. And this is a 7-step seller service cycle model. Okay, so there's 7 steps that the most base models it's been broken down to, and these are the 7 steps that they're going to go through. Okay, so the 7-step cycle model, it's a proven model that this thing works, guys, in any market. I don't care if you're over on the East Coast, West Coast, you're in the central part of the United States, or you're in a little beautiful place called Hawaii. The seller model, 7-step seller service model, cycle model will work in any of those geographical locations. And that's where you know that a truth is a truth, is that it's independent of geographical location, and it's also independent of dispensation of time. It will always work, and this will always work, okay? So here's the truth. The service cycle represents knowing the basics, systemizing your business, getting better over time, and working towards mastery, okay? So if you have page 12, I want you to turn there, because we're going to go through and we're going to define each of these 1 through 7, what each of those steps are. Okay, so does everyone see the lead conversion number 1 on the top right? It's kind of like at 12 noon of the screen. So lead conversion process is this. It's in that particular step, we're capturing, connecting, and closing and cultivating sellers. It's about being fast, gathering information, pre-qualifying them as able, ready, and willing to sell, and setting the appointment. Okay, so we're going through this capture, connect, and close process. Okay, that's lead conversion. And then once you have that lead conversion, once you've closed them onto business, you've set the appointment. Before you go on the appointment is number 2. It's the pre-listing, and that's before the appointment. And then typically you can deliver some type of a pre-listing package to your leads and follow up to confirm the actual appointment. And then step number 3 is going to be listing consultations. And this is where this is game time, man. You're there, you're in the moment. This is at the appointment. You're going to be asking questions and listening thoroughly to determine the seller's needs and wants. You'll be able to cover the home selling process. You're servicing your service standards. You're going to go over not only the home selling process, you're going to go over your service standards. And then ultimately, you're going to get that contract signed, the listing agreement signed. Okay, and this is about earning the seller's business. So if you could put this down on your notes, and this is a principle I want you to carry with you for the rest of your life. You're here to earn the right. What are you doing to earn the right? There are no free handouts. There are no, hey, yeah, here you go. There's no free handouts. What am I going to do to earn the right? Because we're not entitled to anything. We're here to earn the right to be here. Whether it's earning the right to be in relationship with someone that's right across from you, or in this specific case, earning the right to be in relationship with sellers. Okay. The 4th step is servicing and marketing. The goal is to sell quickly and at a great price with the least possible amount of hassle. That's actually a script if you think about it. So Mr. Seller, the goal for us today in achieving this is to sell your home as quickly as possible at a great price with the least amount of hassle. That's step 4, service and marketing. Step 5 is offers and negotiations. This actually is one of the most crucial steps in the service process, because this is where you provide your sellers the guidance on receiving and responding to an offer. And it's at this particular point where both buyer and seller are actually coming together, okay? And you're there to literally consult them through that process. That's offers and negotiation, step 5. The next step is step 6, contract to close. And on the contract to close, we're going to be bulletproofing our deals by thoroughly tracking and monitoring every phase of the inspection, title, and lending process. So we're bulletproofing our deals. That's what contract to close. You're going through the escrow process, right? And then of course, the seventh step, the final step, is going to be post-close systems. And that's by following up with well-chosen services and gifts. You will create clients for life, bringing you deals, referrals, and influence. Okay. And I would put in there earning the right for referrals, earning the right to be in continued relationship with your clients, earning the right to have clients for life, or earning the right to have that client for life. Keep that in the forefront of your mind, because it truly is about earning the right here. Okay. All right, let's turn the page, if we could, onto page 13. This is just a snapshot of your business. If you wanted to go through, we're just going to take not more than 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to read through each of these 13 questions. And if you currently are doing it, then just put a little 1 or a check, X the box, just notate it. And at the very end, you're going to add up each of those, each of the numbers represents a point of 1 for a total of 13 points, because there's 13 currently I'm doings there. And just go ahead and check it off. And this is just kind of a quick peek behind the curtain, saying, okay, what am I doing in my business? And are these some of the areas that I have implemented? And if not, how am I going to implement these? Because these will help you on your way to success. Okay, and the thought is this, is that by us peeking behind the curtain, we're looking to see where we are. Because in order we must understand where we are in order to know where we're going to go. You don't know whether to travel north, south, east, west. You just want to have 8 listings. Okay, how do we get there? And so this will help us know where we are, okay? So number 1, time block and lead generate 3 hours a day at minimum. And it's not rocket science. Either you're doing it or you're not. Check yes, check no, or leave it blank, or put a 1, whatever you want to do. So time block for time block for and lead generate for 3 hours a day minimum. Number 2, have a database of METs. METs are individuals that you've had contact with, that you know who they are and they know who you are, and past clients, and consistently communicate with them. So do you have a database of MET people, and are you communicating with them? Okay, number 3, have you taken Igniter Bold at least once? Both tremendous classes. Number 4, practice and use the scripts from Igniter Bold. Number 5, have been in business approximately 2 years or more and consistently close 16 or more seller transactions a year. And even if you're the gentleman, please forgive me because I don't see your name, but the gentleman that's just going to get his first transaction, you're right. Everyone's in the boat with you, and we're here to support and help you. So we'll definitely be able to help you with the process. But this, there isn't a more opportune time, because you're laying the perfect foundation that's going to catapult you for success. All right. Number 6, is this something you're currently doing in your business? Do you use the available KW technology tools in my business? Chad, is there anyone on the group that's not a KW agent?
You know, I don't know. We have a good bunch of people joining us, but I think probably mostly KW.
Okay, and if we do, you know, just disregard that particular number. We do have particular tools that do help enable our level of success in business. So I don't want you to feel like it's, you know, just disregard the question, okay? If you're not a KW agent, and if you are, and you are not using the technology, then mark it down. That's an area to improve. Number 7, have a business website that attracts and captures customer inquiries. Number 8, yes or no, actively use social media in my business. Number 9, yes or no, set goals for numbers of appointments and listings I need per day and per week. So you're setting goals for your appointments, for your listings per day and per week. Number 10, am I immersed in my market center? You know the staff, you have a network of colleagues and vendors, you attend classes and events. That's actually a really big one, because there's a lot of potential business that can be generated. Like, hey, I have a buyer that's looking for you know, 2-bedroom, 3-bath, whatever it is. Oh my gosh, I have a listing that's coming up, and you're able to pair up and match up. Number 11, attend mega camp, and that mega camp is an event that we have each year. Number 12 is also a family, and those are 2 events that typically are on the bipolar opposite ends of the calendar. One's in month 2, the other's in month 8. And typically you go through and you've got agents from across the nation that come together and collaborate. And then of course, 13, participate in KW MAPS coaching. And depending upon where you are in your career, I know that we do have productivity coach in our market centers. So if you're with a productivity coach, I know Lisa is on here. She absolutely is an amazing woman, as well as an amazing instructor and amazing coach as well. So get plugged in if that's where you are. If you're at a certain point in your career and you've done the productivity coaching and your business is at a certain point, plug into MAPS coaching, man, 100%. It absolutely will change your life. All right. So here's, on page 14, if you can turn your page, if you could, on page 14. And I just want to briefly go through these questions real quick. And just think about like the successful listing appointments. Think about your less successful listing appointments. What was the difference? And ultimately, you know, how are we able to change? Okay, so the first question is, think about your successful listing appointments. What did you do in the process to enable that success? So think about your successful listing appointments. What did you do in the process that enabled success? And just jot that 1 or 2 answer down. Were you organized? Did you show up on time? Did you think ahead? You know, did you plan the steps out? Maybe you contacted them early. Maybe you showed up on time and everyone else didn't. What did you do if you could just narrow it down to 1 or 2 things, what did you do in the process that enabled that success for those successful listing appointments? Maybe I don't know, maybe you listen well when you ask a certain question and you show up with their favorite restaurant gift card. I don't know, whatever it is. I mean, it's an opportunity for us to be able to truly communicate that we care, and are we doing that? Okay, so what do you do in the process? Number 2 is think about the listing appointments that have failed. What did you do in the process that enabled failure? I mean, I'll tell them myself, I actually showed up to a listing appointment late one time, and it you know, I truly had car trouble. This wasn't like my dog ate it kind of excuse. I truly had car trouble, and the seller didn't care. He goes, "You're not on time? We're done." So that was one of my failures. And guess what? I'm there early every time now. So what did you do that unfortunately, if there's a listing point that failed, what did you do in that process that enabled the failure? Okay, and the third question is do any limiting beliefs keep you from the goal of changing your actions? And how can you redirect those beliefs? And this is a powerful quote at the bottom of that page. It says, education is really about informing and training. Education is really about informing, and training is about changing behavior. Get more than just educated, get trained. So we become informed so that we can change our behavior. That's ultimately what we want to do. And I'm gonna, on that note, I'm gonna give you one of the ahas that actually has developed. It's taken me years to develop this, and it didn't even come from me. It's just from reading from different sources of material. And if you have a pen, you can write this down or type it. The thought process is becoming better today than what I was yesterday. The steps of becoming better today than what I was yesterday. Okay, and there's basically 5 questions that we ask ourselves. In order to become better today than what I was yesterday, there's 5 questions we ask ourselves. And the first question is where is my DNA in this? How did I contribute? What did I do? What did I not do? What did I say? What did I not say? So where is my DNA in this? That's question 1. Question 2 is what did I learn? Okay, so we've gone through an experience. We've had something that took place. Maybe it was a listing appointment that we went through that just went south real quick. We ask ourselves, first question, where's my DNA in this? Second question is what did I learn? For me, on that example that I gave, I ain't showing up 15 minutes late no more. It's going to be 15 to half an hour early, 30 minutes early. Okay, so where's my DNA in this? What did I learn? The third question is what can I improve? The fourth question is what's next? And the fifth question is, which is what I absolutely love, is, do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. And that's the earning the right piece. Okay. So where's my DNA in this? What did I learn? What can I improve? What's next? What's next? And then the last question is going to be earning the right. Do whatever it takes. Okay. Those are the 5. All right, we're gonna take like a 30-second chat. Are you still rolling, or do you want to transition, or are we good?
No, I think we're good. We got a kind of a little bit of things to go through, so I think we're okay.
Okay, perfect. All right. Did anyone have any questions, Haj? Because we're about to get into the meat of the material.
Yeah, I would like to say a failure as well, because I feel like I'm not alone in this, and I'll certainly at my own, at my own demise, I'll be happy to throw in a failure of mine as well. But number 2, it asks, what did you do in a process or a listing appointment that you might have failed? And for me is I have been very fortunate enough to have some success in my career, and I kind of relied on the gift of gab. I relied on I don't need to prepare. I'll just go in there and kind of wing it, and that is absolutely what you should not do. And I just felt like I'll talk my way out of things. And when I left and I didn't get the listing, I just thought, oh my gosh, could you imagine how well I would have done if I just sat down and looked at the material and looked at the comps and looked at the area and the neighborhood, as opposed to try to wing it, because we owe it to our clients not to wing it. We owe it to them to give them valuable information. And if I'm just making it up as I kind of go along, that is not helping them in any way. So I certainly never did that again.
Thank you for that, Chad. Thank you for being vulnerable, man. And for sharing. All right, so let's jump in. So lead conversion. In this chapter, we're going to be going through and we're going to know our numbers. We're going to go through the lead generation process, lead conversion model. And those are the 3 points that primarily we're going to be covering. So let's jump in on this next portion. Excuse me. This is going to be covering our conversion ratios. So what I want us to do is, if you have a piece of paper, just make 4 little blanks across the board, or if you have the material, just go ahead and look on page 18 and answer the questions. How many contacts do you make a week? So write down your contacts, 5, 10, 15, 20, 50, 60, 100, whatever it is, X. How many contacts do you make each week? The next blank I want you to put down is how many of those meet your definition of a lead. Okay, so contacts made, actual leads equals to X amount of leads. The next blank is how many of those leads became appointments. And how many the fourth blank is going to be how many appointments signed the listing contract. Okay, so I'll go through those 4 again. The first is going to be your voice-to-voice. How many voice-to-voice have you had? The second is how many of those voice-to-voices were actually leads. The third blank is from those leads that I got, how many of those became appointments? And then the fourth thing is on those appointments, how many of those actually signed?
And while you guys are doing that, I'm just going to chime in real quick. We're probably going to run a little bit late, but it's such good material. We are recording it as well. So if you do need to break, you do need to leave for another appointment, we totally understand. We will record it and share it with you. So I appreciate it. So if you want to stay on, please do.
And I do apologize. We, yeah. Sorry, Chad. I just looked down at the time. I just was going. I apologize.
No, it's all good stuff.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So let's go through those numbers. Who's comfortable sharing their 4 numbers? And if you could just type them in the blank. Or in the conversation box. And if not, then Gabby, you laughing over there, girl. I can see you on the camera. What's going on?
Oh, it was mine.
Oops.
There's 2 of them that's in there. That's why. So it's a feedback between the 2 microphones.
Oh, okay. I'm not singling you out. You don't have to put your numbers. I just saw you kind of giggling over there. So I was curious what was so funny. And if you don't have your numbers, do not be embarrassed. That's where we are. So are you comfortable sharing your numbers, Gabby?
Audrey is. Wow.
Okay.
Gabby and Ashley, since you're in the same room, you can type it in too, so that there's no feedback.
Guys, I'm here too. I was just saying that, yeah, my numbers are eye-opening to the amount of conversion that I'm having, and it's not that much. So.
And that's okay. And when you say eye-opening, what do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, it's like make 100 calls, get 25 contacts, book 0 appointments.
Okay. So, and that's, there's nothing wrong with that, because what do you know what that allows and shows you at that particular point?
That's my problem is conversion.
Okay, so opportunity, never a problem. Okay, so yes, so the opportunity is from whether it's the voice to voice to the contacts that are being made to the appointments that are being set. Where's the opportunity in that? And we go back through and how can I becoming better today than what I was yesterday? And we ask ourselves a very simple question: if we're making so many dials and it's producing so many contacts and they're resulting in 0 appointments, then potentially it could, what's one area that we could improve on in that scenario?
Script practice and asking.
Okay, so script, 100%. So it could be scripts is one. So are we saying things right tonality, right word selection? Is it being delivered properly? So scripts could be one. What's another thing that could be improved?
I think for me, it's just asking. I deliver value, and then I am afraid to ask for the appointment. And so then I say, call me when you're ready.
Okay.
And I never do.
Okay. So which is great. So now what we can do is we won't do it on the, obviously in the class right now, but essentially what we can do is we can go back and look and say, okay, what are some of the things we can ask? There are some scripts in the latter part of the material that we are going to cover that may help you with that. I'll give you one that has worked for myself and has probably converted probably 95% of the transactions that we do. I don't change the script, and it basically is. So here's what we're gonna do. ... How does that sound? So here's what we're gonna do. ... How does that sound? And when we get to the role-playing section, I'll show you how that works. Okay. So yes, scripts is one, and potentially the other opportunity, maybe and forgive me, I hunt, I fish. Chad knows I grew up on a ranch, and I always make this statement, and he kind of giggles a little bit. But the reality is this: if the hole, the fishing hole or the part of the lake that you're fishing at, if it's not producing the fish that you want, maybe we've got to go to a different fishing hole or a different part of the lake. So if our calls are only to a specific, maybe they're a specific segment of the market, maybe we need to switch and go to a different segment of the market. So scripts and role play is absolutely one, and maybe we need to see if there's an opportunity to get better quality leads, and if so, what does that look like?
Thank you, Rustan.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing and for being vulnerable. And just know whatever happens in the Win with Sellers class stays in the Win with Sellers class. All right.
Like you said, opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Ask me again next week.
It's always an opportunity. And never a problem. It could be an issue when we're talking word selection. Okay. So a potential issue, not, oh, I got a problem, or hey, there's a problem, or, you switch out the word. That may be a good opportunity for word selection, to switch out opportunity and also issue for the word problem. All right, perfect. So the intent of us knowing our numbers is exactly what you discovered, what Aubrey was willing to share and was vulnerable sharing, and that it lets us know potentially what we're able to improve on. Okay, so it pinpoints exactly where the potential weak points are in our business and how do we improve it. Okay, so tracking your numbers is it's part of having a business is doing that. All right, so let's jump into lead conversion. If you could just write down your goals for lead conversion. So if you want to have X amount of, let's say you want to have your 10 appointments, or whatever it is that you want to put down, 5 appointments, just go ahead and write that number down, just so that you have that in front of you. All right. If you have your materials, we're on page 20. This is actually the lead conversion. It begins with leads. Just get this into your heart that we always have 2 jobs. You're in lead generation, and we happen to be in real estate. If you're a doctor, you're a lead generator that happens to be in real estate. If you're a lawyer, you're a lead generator that happens to be in law. We are lead generators. And so leads is this is the first question that has to be answered before you can move on to the next part of the cycle. Leads, listings, leverage, okay? So we have to be able to answer that question. And the question is just the classic, what, where, when, how, and who. What am I going to do to lead generate? When am I going to lead generate? How am I going to lead generate? Who's going to do lead generating? We ask those questions to make sure that we have clarity on that, okay? And that's going to be for your leads. Now, as the leads start coming in, we want to start to pre-qualify. And in pre-qualifying the leads, they have able, ready, willing. If you've been in any of my classes, I like acronyms, and the acronym that's easiest for me to remember is RAW. You want a raw buyer: ready, able, and willing. RAW. Okay, and ready equals time. What's their timing? When are they going to be able to move forward? Able, obviously, is the financial. Are they financially able to sell their properties? Are they going to be in a short sale? Are they making a surplus? Are they breaking even? What does that look like? So able equals money, and willing is their motivation or their why. What are they willing to do? Are they willing to act like right now? Okay. So ready, able, willing. Now I'm going to read this one quick segment. All leads, we're on page 21. All leads are not equal. The leads most deserving of your face time are those that are pre-qualified as able, ready, and willing, or ready, able, and willing to sell when they're within a predictable time frame. Your definition will include a length of time that suits the amount of business you are doing and the amount of activity in your market. So if you want to do 5 transactions, guess what? 5 transactions within a year, and if all of the leads that you have are the first 2 are going to sell within 1 year, and the last 3 are going to sell in 2 years from now, guess what? You only got 2 leads that are going to fit within that dispensation of time that you're wanting to sell in. So we've got to fill it up with more leads that's going to fit or match the amount of business that we want to have within our goals, okay? And if individuals that are selling 2 years from now, yes, touch them a little bit, but don't spend all your time with them, because they're not going to result into business this year. And you've got goals that you've set. We have to be working with people that are going to fit within those goals. I'm not saying, understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying to discard people. What I am saying is to make sure that we're in front of people that are going to be able to produce and help get you to the point where you want to be in your business. There's no sense in spending all of your time with buyers who are not going to buy that going to buy 2 years from now, when all the buyers that could buy like this month that you're neglecting. Okay. So we've got to be willing to gauge that. At the bottom of that page, it says avoid pitfalls. Not gauging clients' ability, readiness, and willingness correctly is a pitfall. Also, high motivation, like an unchangeable moving date that can trump other factors. So if I'm not retiring until next year, guess what? I'm not selling right now. Okay, so we have to understand what those are. Okay, and then of course, when we classify, look on page 22 of your material, when we do classify buyers, or excuse me, when we do classify sellers, there's basically A, B, and C leads. Your A leads are going to be your 0 to 14 days. That's like your hot, you're right now, like, hey, I want to sell, come sell my house, come list me. Calls that you get, come sell my house right now, like there's something urgent. That's your A leads. Your B leads are going to be your 15 to 60 days. If it's 15 days to 60 days, those are your B leads. And then of course we have C leads, which are going to be 61 days or greater. And the reason why we classify the leads like that is because that's who we want to spend the most time with. Because one, it's like, I'm sure that you've all watched something on TV where there's an ER room or a hospital scene, and you've got the dude that they're wheeling in on the gurney. That guy is like needs help like right now. And then you got the individual that's got the little, you know, I sprained my finger kind of thing. That dude can kind of sit in the waiting room for a little bit. Okay. So the ER clients, that's your A client. That's who you service first. The I sprained my little finger, that's your C clients, where we will get to you. We're not neglecting you. We will get to you. You know why Chad sets a great analogy? Because he was pre-med. All right. Thank you for the kind words, Chad. All right, perfect. So on high production listing agents, and these are the do's that they do, they practice highly productive lead generation. They prospect and generate leads that meet their definition of a lead, A, B, or C, which means that when you set your sights on your contacts each week, it should be specific. I want to have at least 2 A buyers or 2 A sellers in this case. I want to have maybe 1 B lead is cool, but my goal is I'm not going to stop until I get at least 1 A lead. And you keep going. That's earning the right piece. Okay. What you focus on expands. So if you focus on your C leads, I'm going to get all anytime I'm just here to just lead generate and generate whatever comes out of the pipe. Guess what? That's what you're going to get. If your intent is to specifically generate a seller that is going to be selling within, you know, 0 to 14 days or within a 30-day time period, that's what you're focusing on. They're going to start looking to see where and aiming at that particular target. Okay. We feed, organize. This is what highly producing agents or listing agents do. They feed, organize, and grow their database. They have a touch campaign or a touch plan. In our Keller Williams, we have the 33 touch plan. And then we also practice consistently. And then we follow up on those leads, man. And these are some of the don'ts. We don't rely solely on internets to feed you. That's a lead receiver. That's not a lead generator, by the way. We don't change or add methods of lead generations randomly. We do not wait for the number of leads they need to hit their goals. We actually go out proactively get it. And we do not skip follow-up. Write this down on your notes. The majority of the money in this business is made in the follow-up. The majority of money that is made in real estate is in the follow-up. You'll get your, hey, I want to list tomorrow kind of thing, calls. You'll probably, the majority of business, hey, I want to list in, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, next year, whatever it is. That's where the real money is, because it's going to take following up on that business until it actually matures. Okay?
You know, KWRI says that it's about 80%. 80% is follow-up. That's an amazing number.
80%.
It's huge.
It's beyond huge. That's Pareto's 80-20, baby. Okay, so here's the question. Do you have follow-up time scheduled in your lead generation? Or are you just hunting? There's hunting and there's gathering. So schedule the hunting session. You're going out there, generating. Schedule the follow-up time as well. All right? That's the follow. If 80% of the business is there, ooh, I like that. Fortune is in the follow-up. All right. Let's head over to the next segment. This is actually the lead conversion model. And number 1 is capture. Number 2 is connect. Number 3 is close an appointment. And then if we're not able to close, then we actually cultivate them until they're ready to actually close. Now, capturing, obviously, contact information, phone, email, email address, or physical address. You've got their contact information. Excuse me. The second is going to be establishing on connecting. We're actually establishing the relationship. Number 3 is going to be setting the appointment. That's the close to appointment. You've actually set it. And then if we're not able to set it, then we just continue to cultivate them. And that's when we maintain and strengthen relationships. Okay. Now, obviously, this is a model. It doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. It can be swapped around a little bit. And typically, because we're dealing with people, we are dealing with emotions. You're not just going to walk up to someone and say, "Can I get your email address, phone number, and physical address, please?" That's awkward. That's called a stalker, and we're not stalking. So typically what we do is we want to start with the connecting period. Start with number 2, because when we have conversations and we're just connecting with and establishing the relationship with people, that's the earning the right piece. That's going to allow you to be able to close on appointment and also capture the information. And if you're not able to close, then just go right to the cultivating part. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on that? Absolutely, Michelle. We're always building and maintaining the relationship. We're earning the right to be in a relationship with people. All right, so let's look on page 24 of your materials. In terms of the keys to lead generating, Gary Keller makes a statement in the middle of the page. He says that getting to the table first or second is what matters most, or what matters. This makes the conversion more important than presentation. The competitive battle is almost single-handedly won simply by getting an appointment before someone else does. I don't remember the number. I believe it's in the 80s. Chad, you may know this, is that the majority of individuals that are buying or selling literally will go with the first agent. I don't know if it's like around 80%.
I think it's 85. I think it's 85%.
Thank you. And then there's just a small percentage that will actually take a second listing, interview an agent for the second appointment, 2 agents for the listing. So if you have an 80% chance of success by simply showing up first, then part of your approach needs to be very quick. We're always there to respond, and we're there showing up and being there when someone either raises their hand or, hey, I got a person that is thinking about selling. You're able to have that conversation with them. All right. Now, on our fearless leader, Colette, she has a saying, and it is "Watau Watau," and that's what's the opportunity within the opportunity. So WTO, WTO, what's the opportunity within the opportunity? And she makes that statement because when we look at particular opportunities in our business, make sure that we're not in a position of where we're leaving business on the table. We have 2 objectives. Obviously, number 1 is to get the appointment, and number 2 is to get a referral And in all cases, we're always there to strengthen the relationship. Okay. All right. Now, in the capturing, we're gonna zoom in just a little bit more on the capturing phase portion of the business, of the model rather. And number one, if you have your page 25, just go ahead and flip over to there. And this is kind of where, in kind of in the middle of that page, it says no lead is captured until you have their contact information, so that you are in control of when or how often you touch them. We want to be in a position, ladies and gentlemen, agents of Keller Williams, we want to be in a position of where you can create a predictable business. And the only way you're going to be able to create predictable business is by having the person's contact information and being in a place where you're comfortable to make those particular calls. Okay. Now, in terms of opportunities within the opportunity, I'm just going to read, let's just read the middle one where it says job relocation seller on page 25. So this is an example of a seller. Okay, so here's the profile of a seller. The seller is motivated by a transfer to a new location, usually by a certain date. What great motivation. A relocation company may be involved. So there's potentially different opportunities within that one scenario. You have a guy that's relocating and transferring to a new location by a certain date. So number one, you can win the listing. Okay, obviously that's going to be the first opportunity. Number two, the second opportunity is that you can potentially become a listing agent for that listing, that relocation company. Okay, so you have the opportunity to be a listing agent for that relocation company. That's the second opportunity. And there's also a third opportunity. You can refer that agent out to whatever new location that they're going to in order to buy. In some cases, if they're using a relocation company, I get it. Sometimes they already have agents that are there in those geographic locations. And in some cases, you can just refer them out directly. Okay. All right. Let's head over to the, let's go on to page 26. There's, in the capturing technique, there's basically two kind of main plans. It's called a 3x3 and it's called the 10 days of pain. It sounds like WWF, like, ugh, 10 days of pain. So the 3x3 is going to be making 3 phone calls, 3 days within 3 consecutive days. And it's going to be 1 call at 9. It's going to be a second call at 1. And it's going to be a third call at 5. And you're just calling. And if there's no response, just hang up. Call, no response, just hang up until you're able to actually reach them. If you did want to leave a message, you can. Maybe on the first one, if you want to leave a message, you could. It could be on the last. You can leave a message when you feel it's appropriate. Okay, and the second is the 10 days of pain. And that's as soon as you're contacted, either it's an email, it could be a follow-up with a text message, it could be a phone call. You automatically are responding to them, and you're starting that 10 days of pain of whether there's consistency in your follow-up until there's some type of a response or some type of an appointment that's generated. Okay. Now remember, number 2 on this lead generation model is going to be on the connecting. And the connecting itself, if you have your materials, look in the middle of the second paragraph. Your focus during this process is not to sell. Okay, just be aware of that. The process is not to sell. Okay, again, we're talking about the lead conversion model. So the process is not to sell. It is to provide value, meet their real estate needs, and secure the appointment. Okay. With a consultant who asks questions, so if you have a pen, circle that, asks questions, and it's a consultant that also listens. So circle ask questions and circle listens. We want to stay conversational and friendly and get enough information to pre-qualify them, okay? That's the connecting phase. Now, the pitfalls potentially in the connecting phase is that you're not asking questions. You're selling and you're telling. And the reality is you're not asking questions to get to know the seller and becoming so overly confident that you lose the lead. Just remember, I'm gonna get real close to the camera. It ain't about you. It's about the sellers. You're there to consult, you're there to help. They're the ones that are in need. It's about them. Now here's an aha that's kind of formed over the years of being in the business. And the statement is this, is that everyone already has the answer in their hearts. We simply have not asked enough open-ended questions to discover it. So ask open-ended questions. I'll make a statement again. Everyone already has the answer in their hearts. We simply have not asked enough open-ended questions to discover it. So ask open-ended questions. Okay, and that's on the connecting part of the lead conversion model. Now, if we could turn to page 28. And I want you to write this statement down if you could. The audience always demands the performance. The audience always demands the performance. If you're going to go to a comedy club and you're going to perform, guess what your audience is expecting? Comedy. You're not going to go up there and start doing some type of your rendition of some Shakespearean, but soft. Oh no, is it but wait? What yonder window, whatever it is. Well, Juliet, oh, I got it. A rose called by any other name would smell just as sweet. I think that's a point out of Shakespeare. I don't know where I got that from. Anyways, drama days. You're not going to go up there. The point is you're not going to go up there and perform some type of a monologue drama rendition of Shakespeare. You're there to perform comedy. So you're whoever your audience is, that's the performance we need to give. Now, in going through that, look in the middle of that section. It says platinum rule is this, is that we treat others the way they want to be treated. We treat others the way they want to be treated. Okay, so as we go down, if you look through these particular profiles, on the far left, we're going to spend just a couple minutes on this. On the far left, you have an assertive behavioral style. Okay, so they make decisions easily, they're determined, persistent, direct, they are quick to move forward and solve problems, has a clear sense of direction. Okay, that's your assertive personality style. On the next one to the right says sociable. And on the sociable personality style, they're socially confident, they're diplomatic and tactful, they're practiced communicators, wide circle of contacts and friends. Okay, that's a sociable type of personality style. The next type of personality style is going to be steady. And on the steady is someone that listens intently. They're steady, calm demeanor, emotionally controlled. They're not flighty or whimsical. When expressing a feeling or opinion, others are likely to trust that. Okay. And then you have the last category, which is structured. And they like to be right, detail-oriented, accurate and thorough. They follow the rules and established procedures. Okay. Now, so you have assertive, sociable, steady, and structured. And if you have studied these types of profile behaviors before, it's also can be found in their DISC system, D-I-S-C. Okay, so assertive is D, sociable is an I, S is a steady, and structured is going to be compliant, or structured is going to be a C. Okay. Now, let's go over to the next page because we're going to pick up. We're going to go through this exercise real quick. Because the sooner that you're able to profile someone on the type of behavioral pattern that they potentially fall within, it's at that point that you're able to profile them. Your approach is going to change a little bit. Okay, because remember, the audience demands a performance. Remember the platinum rule: treat others the way they want to be treated. Okay, so let's look up at in seeing the the 4 different behavioral patterns. I'm going to read this statement out, and what I want you to do is I want you to just jot down how do you communicate with this customer. Okay. So customer number 1. I've done quite a bit of detailed research on the internet already and talked to others in my neighborhood and already have a price in mind to sell my house for. I want to see all the data you have on this neighborhood before I make a decision to work with you. First of all, what personality style is that? If you had to guess. You can use what they have there, assertive, sociable, steady, or structured on page 28, or you can call it out DIS on a disc, DISC. I saw someone put C. That's absolutely correct. So with a C, how are we going to communicate with them? In 1 or 2 statements, what are some of the things you should do to communicate with them? Data, there it is. Data, research, numbers, typically very logical, reports, perfect anesthesia. Congratulations on your, I think it was a sold or listing I saw on the announcement. Congratulations on that. Absolutely correct. So it's going to be data. It's going to be more logic. The reference points that you're going to have in your conversation, because your word selection, okay, so we'll take like a 30-second rabbit trail. Communication is broken down to 3 areas. The first area is going to be your word selection. Second area of communication is going to be tonality. The third area of communication is going to be your body language. Okay. Can anyone type real quick what the percentage of communication that makes up body language? What's the percentage of communication that makes up body language? 90? Ooh, close, a little bit lower. 46, 37, ooh, 45, close, keep going. Yeah, not 80%. Ooh, someone said 55, ding, 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 we got a winner. 55% of communication is body language, okay? What is your tonality? How much of communication is tonality? 30, I see a 45, 20, nope, not yet, keep going. How much of 15, keep going. How much of communication is tonality? 40, 40 is pretty close, 37, 38 is the closest so far. It's one less than that, it's 37%. So you've got 38%, I'm sorry, you are correct, 38% was correct. So you've got 38% was tonality, 55% is body language, and obviously the remainder, if you can do math or you have your abacus and you slide the little thing over to get the right answer, the remainder is going to be your word selection. And word selection is what percentage of communication? 55, ooh, Joe, extraordinary. 100% correct, brother, 7%. Which is why, and catch this now, which is why text messages are okay, yet you're only resulting communication to 7%, which is why they can often be confused or misinterpreted. Emails, same way. Okay. So when we communicate with the C, we want to make sure that everything is lined up. So when you're communicating with the C, number 1, you have your data right there. Here you go, here's your data, okay? You also want to be able to make sure that you use words such as the report, the research, the data, here's the information that you requested. And then in the tonality, typically you want to be just very even keel. They don't really like a lot of pattern interrupts. They just like everything be just even keel. And body language, you can be yourself, but don't be like too overbearing. They're a little bit more on the introverted side. So just respect that and approach them, make sure you mirror match in how they're approaching you, okay? Let's go with the last one, customer 4 and customer 5. What was the last question, Chad? I didn't see that.
He said, can you type the answers here? I'll start typing it going forward.
Okay. Cool. So let's skip down to customer 4 and customer 5. Unless you guys would like to go through all of these? Just a percent. 4 and 5. Okay. So percent communication, word selection 7%, tonality 38, body language 55. Okay. So 4 and 5. Can you guys guess on what type of personality this is? We really need to get this house sold. Or number 5, I'm just not sure about the listing price.
What's tonality, Russ?
38.
And then what was the last one?
Body language. Hey, Chad. Body language.
Oh my gosh.
That's from The Little Mermaid, bro.
And body language is what? 55?
55%, yeah. All right. We gotta have fun, guys. We're not having fun. What the heck are we doing this for? Okay, so we really need to get this. So this customer 4 and 5, we really need to get this house sold. And number 5 is I'm just not sure about the listing price. So any guesses? If you had to guess, what would it be? You can type your response in. Okay, Michelle says D, then I, S and C probably, right? You're saying all of them? I'm just teasing Michelle. Okay, so we had one guess was a D, one guess was an I. Anyone else? This is a tricky one now. Okay, D and C. A D and an S from Joel. Here's I'm gonna make a statement now, and when someone speaks, in some cases we want to listen, and of course, obviously it's words on a piece of paper, so it's a little bit more challenging. When someone speaks, we want to listen to what their motive is. And you want to hear their motive, not just what's coming out of their mouth, but you want to hear their motive. Okay. If I were to define it, I would probably categorize, I'm not saying I'm right. This is what, if I were in the situation, this is how I would personally profile the individual. I'd probably profile them as an S. As an S. Because an S is someone that likes everything copacetic that's around them. Okay, so in this case, it's the steady one. Listens intently, steady, calm demeanor, emotionally controlled. When expressing a feeling or opinion, others likely to trust. An S likes everything to be copacetic around it. Everything has to line up. They also are individuals that you need to lead. You do not lead a D. A D is very dominant. They're direct. They know exactly what it is. If you look at customer number 2, that's a D. I don't have time for a bunch of phone calls and meetings. Tell me what you think about what the home should be priced at, and let's see if we can get this deal done. That's a D, very direct. So in this case, someone's asking for permission to be led. We really need to get this house sold. Okay, so there's a need there. And then I'm just not sure about the listing price. So they want you to lead them down the path, okay? So typically with this type of personality style, at the end of your statements, there's going to be downstroke's in your tonality. That communicates confidence, and it also communicates that you're in control, but you're not controlling, and there's a difference, okay? So let's just, I'm just not sure about the listing price. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, completely understand. You know, after going and reviewing through the numbers, if you were to ask me what my opinion was, I'd probably give it a range of between, $900,000 to $950,000. If we're wanting, and then you can just lead right into it. If we had to be an actual pinpoint of a number, I would probably say 945. How does that sound? okay? You're leading them through the conversation, okay? Now, obviously, it's not just one personality and that's it. There's normally a mixture of two. They have two highs, two lows. And so this is just, they've just segmented out each of the personalities. So it can be a combination of both, okay? All right. Okay, let's look on page 30 real quick. At the top of the page, and we're going to kind of zip through this one here. It says high producing agents use their lead sheets. If you don't have a lead sheet, then just look on page 31. It has a lead sheet of what they go through and what they go over. And these are a list of questions. Excuse me, they're a list of questions that we ask, and we're there to gather information. The more information that we have up front, the better we can plan and use that information through the process. Okay, so in the middle of that page, it says seek first. Fundamentally, your connection process, we seek first to understand. So we're always going to come from curiosity. Okay, so who are they? What do they do? What do they need? You know, what's their number one goal that they're wanting to achieve out of selling your house today? You know, what's the ultimate end state of where you want to be, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? You know, what's your goal for the property? You can, you know, those types of questions is ultimately what we want to have information on, because that allows us, you as a consultant, myself, ourselves as consultants, to be able to lead the client through the process. Okay, so look on page 31. They've got all the questions. Now they do have number one, which is how do you hear about me? I probably wouldn't lead with that. That's something you can absolutely weave into the conversation. I personally would not start with that question because I've just made the entire conversation starting off about myself. So I would maybe start on number two. You know, could you tell me, you know, what's your plans on moving? Like let's fast forward. Let's say that that this house were to be sold, that we helped you with the selling of this process. What's your next step? Where are you going to be moving to? Well, moving over to Texas. I'm going to go back to mama and daddy, whatever it is, right? Okay. So you go through, you've got those questions that are there. Those are great starters to be able to go through and go through. Now, when it comes to closing, look on page 32, if we could please, of your handout. Highly productive agents close quickly. The faster you close, the faster you get to the appointment. Okay, it's about the speed to lead and speed to closing on the appointment. Chad made a statement earlier, 85% of business, typically they interview just one agent. So it's the speed to that appointment, okay? And this is that closing process. Now, if we look on Gary Keller's words of wisdom, he says this: the right approach to close for a meeting is the only approach. Ask for it. And I'm not going to single anyone out, but we had earlier conversations with opportunities, and you just got to ask. Aubrey, is Aubrey still on?
Hi.
Hey, I'm going to have a vulnerable moment with you. Are you okay with that?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. I want you to imagine yourself, you're about to go through a crosswalk, and you see this little kid out of the corner of your eye, and they're about to run into the street, and all of a sudden hey, stop! And you grab the kid, and you keep them from running into the street because the semi-truck was just coming across the street. And if you didn't grab that child, they would have been run over and squashed by that truck. Horrible example. There's a reason why I said that though. If you believe that you're able to help someone, then you are going to do something that sometimes causes you, or you have to flex outside of character, because I can assure you that at every single crosswalk, you're not going to be like, hey, stop. That's out of character. Mm-hmm. And yet you know that you're there, you're competent, you're able, and you are the best daggum real estate agent that exists in this Hawaii real estate market. and you're there to service that particular seller. So if it means getting out of character temporarily in order to save that seller from working with another agent that told them that they have to move out of their house in order to sell their house, that didn't know how to do a buy and sell consistent transaction, guess what? You've just literally saved their life. There are countless horror stories in this industry that agents, and I'm not singling anyone out, that agents have counseled sellers to do things with their properties, to spend X amount of dollars to move out of their properties and go move in a hotel until your property sells, or go live with, you know, Aunt Bessie down the street, and it drives them crazy. That has absolutely put families in jeopardy. And you are not one of those agents. So if you have to flex a little bit and get out of character to ask for the business, then keep that in the back of your mind, that you absolutely are here to help. And there is no one better to help that seller or buyer, depending, in this case it's a seller, than you. And so if you need to get yourself psyched up to ask the question, just remember, I'm here to help. I'm absolutely here to help, and there is no one better. All right?
Very well put, Rustan.
Thank you. Okay, so you're here to help. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Role playing. Ta-da! Okay, so let's transition in terms of role playing. If you have your pages, there's page 32, 33, and 34. Those are all going to be, well, 32 and 33 are going to be two types of scripts. One is that the seller has called you, and the other script is that you're actually calling the seller. Okay. What time is it? Let's review through these, because I know that we're actually getting over on time a little bit. But let's just review through well, the first one probably won't be as common. Let's review through the second one on page 33, because that one will be common. That you're calling them. Okay, so script 2, it says that you've called them in the 3/4 of the page. So the script sets expectations early and doesn't wait to start using trial closes. Remember that you are quickly determining if they are able, ready, and willing. I just keep thinking ready, able, willing. So we're determining that. So here's a script. It says, is this, Mrs. Smith? May I confirm the spelling of, Mr. Smith? Can I confirm your address? After they give you the spelling and the address, set the expectations and use the trial close. So this is one of the scripts of the trial closes. Hi, I'm blank with Keller Williams Realty. I'd like a few minutes of your time to cover some important points for anyone considering listing their home for sale. If what I say makes sense to you and your questions are answered, let's consider an appointment so that we can get to know one another and I can see your property. How does that sound? Okay, so that's one potential. We're getting more lead information, get more lead information, sheet information, and then use another trial closes. So these are actual trial closes that we go through, and they can give you the short yeses or nos or head nods. And what trial closes are set up to do is to get yeses along the way. And if there's a no, it's not the big commitment like, will you marry me kind of thing. It's literally, hey, do you want to go out and grab some coffee sometime? Sure, that's a trial close. Hey, do you want to go out and, whatever it is, you start spending time with someone. It's the entire process of the relationship culminating to that significant other, to where you're actually in relationship with someone. You don't just walk up to someone that you first meet them and say, will you marry me? I mean, that's a little awkward, right? So we want to build up in the relationship portion of the process. We want to be able to take, in the conversation, in this case, take them through the trial closes so that when the appointment is set, it's not a big letdown. We've already had yeses along the way, and it automatically translates into a yes at the very end. Okay. So it goes through where are you planning to live next? When do you plan on moving there? And here's another trial close. If I show you how I can get your home sold in next 30 days, would you make an appointment with me? Okay, so these are just going to be different trial closes. You're probing, finding out the motivation of the seller itself. Here's the next one. What will you do if your home does not sell in the time you need it? What price did you have in mind? Tell me, is there a price that you will not go below? Okay, so you can start having those discovery questions. And if you look on page 34, excuse me, these are 10 classic closes that you can weave in. They're all different tactics and techniques. There's hard closes, soft closes, direct close, indirect close, trial closes. For me, you guys have, we've gone through different classes together. And normally I just go, so here's what we're going to do. How does that sound? Mr. Seller, we've gone through all of through some of your wants and needs. And it sounds like the next step is for us to sit down and go through everything face to face so that you can see all the information that's to answer all the questions you may had. So I'd love to be able to sit down with you. And then you go the weekend, weekday, remember general to specific. Are you free on weekends, weekdays? Weekends, perfect. Mornings or afternoons? Mornings, awesome. Would 9 a.m. and a Saturday morning work for you? Yes, it does. So you just go through your closing process, okay? So the first question is weekends, weekdays, and this is just personally what we do. You can lead into it. Would you be offended? On number 7, would you be offended if I asked if we could meet to go over this? No, I'm not offended. Perfect. Are weekends or weekdays best for you? Mornings or afternoons? Set the time, confirm the time. So weekends, weekdays, mornings, afternoons, set the time, confirm the time, okay? And then on the next page on 35, it says the seller may be asking a question, yet the sales representative hears an objection. Okay, so there's 2 different types. One is a question, when we get asked a question, we answer it. The next is that when you get an objection, you handle it. Okay, so for example, if they say, what's your commission? My commission is 3%, and I suggest we offer the buyer representative 3%, it's done, end of story. If they ask if you would do it for less, say, no, I'm sorry, I won't, or it's against company policy, whatever response that you want to give, you're answering a direct question. Now, if they persist and they won't move forward, and that's what's stopping them from being able to move forward with you, then you might say their response may be, hey, look, the other sales representative, they're willing to do it for 5% and you're not. Then say, what I hear you saying is the commission you pay is important to you. I'm so happy you brought that up. We'll cover that when we meet. Now, underline, highlight this last paragraph, paragraph you can. We only handle objections when you can get a signature. Only handle objections when you can get a signature. You can't get a signature over the phone, so over the phone, either answer the question or tell them we'll cover that when we meet. Highlight, underline, get that into your heart. And the reason why we do that is typically in objection, you're overcoming an emotional barrier that's backed up by logic. So in order to disarm that, you have to physically be there to do that, because 7% of communication is not going to cut it. Even if they can hear you a little bit on your tonality, you're still only at 45. If you're going to take someone through the emotional phases to answer their objections, you need to do that in person. There's some people that can do it over the phone. God bless them. I'd rather be looking someone right dead in the eye and having that conversation with them, because then you can feel what's going on in the room. Okay, so only handle objections when you can actually get them to get a signature, because it's going to take you switch tracking them, getting them to an emotional state of where they are going to be ready and able to move forward, and they're at the emotional place where they're like, oh man, I'm excited, I'm ready to go, let's do this. They can sign. When you miss that emotional heightening in the process, and now you're 2-3 days later, guess what? You've missed the boat. The same thing is with buyers. The same thing. It doesn't matter the process. Where we elevate someone to an emotional state to where they are, then they can move. Write this down. Logic makes them think. Emotion makes them act. And when you can elevate someone to the emotional state or emotional level that causes them to act, then you want them to act right away. It's kind of like eating, like, you guys ever eat macaroni and cheese? One of my team members, it's her husband's birthday, so she's doing like dinner, like his favorite dinners for the week, which is a really cool idea. And she was sharing with me that like she made mac and cheese with bacon. And can you imagine eating that dish cold? Cold mac and cheese with bacon? That's disgusting. Now you heat that bad boy up, ooh, your life is going to change. Same thing with people when they make decisions. We have to have their emotions. That's illegal. We have to have their emotional state to a certain point, and then they're ready to move. There's a great book. It's called Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Bradbury. Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Bradbury. If you have not read that book, get the book and read it. It teaches you about limbic system and also logic and how to take someone through the process to keep them in the limbic state in order for them to be able to make a decision to move forward or not move forward. Teaches you how to do things, how not to do things in order for you to influence someone's life. Right. Okay, let's look over on, actually this is going to be the real play, role play. And typically at this point, we'd go through the lead generation point of the class. Well, let's head over to the cultivation side of things on page 39. This is the last phase. So we've captured the information if possible, or rather we've connected with a person. Sometimes we've closed the appointment and then we've got we've captured their contact information. For us, it's always, you have conversation with someone, thinking about selling, perfect. Tell me a little bit about some of the needs, your wants and needs. What are your goals for selling your property? Well, I want to get $100,000. Sounds perfect. You go through that conversation and it says, well, it sounds like the next step for us to do is to sit down and actually go through the process together to make sure you're comfortable with everything. So I'd love to be able to sit down with you maybe for like 15 to 20 minutes to make sure all your questions are answered, to make sure that you feel comfortable with the process. And then from there, you close them on the appointment. And after you've closed in the appointment, great, we're going to meet on Saturday at 9. What's the best contact number for you? What's the best email address? We'll be able to send our follow-up appointment and you can go through the process that way. So typically it's connecting, closing, and then you're capturing. And if you're not able to close on the appointment, that's where we actually cultivate. We'll go through the cultivating portion. Okay, and number 4 on top of page 39, if we're not able to close, we did make the connection. We cultivate the prospect until they're ready for the appointment. Now, I want to make this statement to you, and I want everyone to pay very close attention. If you're in a phase such as connecting, we need to make sure that we have the information to be able to move to the next step. So in our case, if setting and closing on the appointment is the next step, in order for us to do that, if we are able to, we want to be able to get their information so that we're able to move to the next step. If possible, and I'm going to restate it a different way, if possible, we don't leave the person in from a phase until we've set the next appointment or the next phase, next step. We've set the next expectation. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say we're having a conversation and they're like, oh no, I don't want to meet. Perfect. Why don't we do this? I'll just send some different properties closed in your neighborhood. I'll send you some neighborhood updates. What's the best contact email I can send that to? Get their email address. Perfect. I'm going to typically follow up with a text message to make sure you receive our emails. What's the best contact number for you? And you've gotten their contact information. Then you set them up for cultivating. Okay. So you don't want to leave that, especially if you're at a face-to-face with someone. You don't want to leave that until you've set the next meeting or next point in the process. Okay. Any questions on that so far? We're good. All right. So as a whole, guys, we did go through. I just want to kind of wrap things up. We were able to go through and kind of knowing our conversion numbers. They were revealing in some. in some cases, and that's great. That's an opportunity for us to improve and get better and constantly learn. You know, we went through the points of lead generating, and we did go through the lead generating model as well. So we probably can open it up for questions, I guess. And if you do have to, you know, I thank you so much for being a part of the opportunity of being able to have a conversation together and be able to go through the Win with Sellers class, at least the first segment. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. So Chad, I'm going to turn over to you, and we can ask questions or whatever may take place. If you could, though, guys, if you could do like just one or two ahas, that's extremely important. It not only helps me, it also helps everyone within the group. And then I've only got one special request, and I normally don't do this, but in this case, I am attempting to become qualified to be a certified trainer for Keller Williams. So I would like your help. And the help is that if you could fill out, Chad, we can send out a link and maybe do an evaluation. Sure. If it's less than 5, like if a 4 or 3, just put Chad's name down next to it. If it's a 5 or greater, go ahead and. But seriously, I would absolutely love to be able to hear the feedback and to improve as well. So let's start off with your ahas. You can type them, or if you'd like, that'd be awesome.
Michelle has a question. She wants to know, how does one even become a certified KW trainer? It's a great question.
So there's a process. Typically there's going to be 2 to 3 classes that you would take. One is going to be train the trainer. Train the presenter is the first one, and then train the trainer advanced workshop, where you literally go up. And you go through those classes. You literally present in front of fellow agents that are within the company. Once you pass those classes and you get a recommendation from the instructor to be able to move on to the next level, then they give you the recommendation. Then you also teach on a consistent basis within the Market Center. There's certain classes that they're wanting you to teach, whether it's Win with Sellers, whether it's Ignite, six personal perspectives. And then in teaching those classes, typically there's evaluations. In this case, 75 is the number that we're looking to get. And then I get a letter of recommendation from the RD, which is in the one and only Mr. Carl Batiste, who is absolutely an amazing individual. That's for our NorCal Hawaii region. And then also from another RD, and then team leaders. So I think it's 4 or 5 letters of recommendations.
So some of the ahas, there's a couple of them that say tonality, which is absolutely great. John says text messages cause confusion due to the lack of visual cues and tonality. It's a great aha. Chris says, I like the emotional selling aspect and the handling objections in person. I think that's a really good aha. That's a great one for me too. Do objection handlers in person. One thing, Russ, I'll add to as well, is you said the audience always demands the performance. That's a great one. Kind of puts things in perspective.
Thank you.
Audrey thanks you for making her vulnerable.
It's always an opportunity to grow.
WTO.
That's a kung fu. Wah!
Chris is asking, do you have any other book suggestions? I've got Unlimited Power, Tony Robbins, Emotional Intelligence 2.0 with Bradbury. Any others?
Anthony Iannarino has got a good book. The Lost Art of Closing is a great book that goes into building relationships, communicating you care. I'd go through Fierce Conversation is another one. That's a great book to go through. And I like Reality. I would start to study on the DISC, or in this case, they've got the 4 personalities there. I think DISC is copyrighted, so I probably couldn't use it in the material. But I would absolutely study different personalities and get to learn at least the 4 basics of DISC, because that will help in being able to communicate with people. It's 3 Ps: people, process, and product. Product obviously is the house. The process is moving the product or having the individual come to, attract for them to come to you. And there's the people piece, and that people piece is probably the largest out of all of the different pieces. That takes the longest in most cases to master, because it's a journey. And so there's a statement, I forget the book that I was reading out of, but it's talking about going with the grain of someone versus against the grain. It's a lot easier if we understand someone, how they're able to receive communication, how we should be asking questions, how we're going to be reading them. It goes through that whole process. What's their perspective? And once you have an understanding of that, then you're able to effectively communicate with them and actually get someone to move. It's easier to move with someone than against them.
Infinite Games, also a good one. Profit First is also a good one too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Aaron says, in school we were reprimanded for copying, but in this case we want to copy other successful ones and in fact become a professional modeler. That's a great point.
100%. That was a good one.
Chris says the personality classification was a big aha for him. It relates to mirror concept. Let's see. I kind of missed a couple of them. Steven says great class, lots of takeaways. Beth, I love how you supported Audrey. The mindset scripting around finding and asking for the business can always be improved. And yeah, a lot of thank you. So guys, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. We know how busy you guys are. We know that we went a little bit over, but you know, Rustan always has unbelievable and tremendous amount of value, and no doubt he'll easily become a certified instructor. So we'll help him along that journey. If you guys have any questions, I'm always available for you. Feel free to email me at any time, chadshima@kw.com. And please visit us again next Thursday at the same time, because we will do this all over again. And next week, I believe, let's see, what's the next class? The next class is
Dan and Julie. It's going to be pre-listing.
Yeah,
the next phase number 2, pre-listing.
Yeah. So please come back and please join us next week. And guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your week and wonderful weekend. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.